Member Kendrick is absent. All other council members are present.
Would you all then stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a brief moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The city clerk posted orders of adjournment of the August 13th, 2019 meeting and the agenda of the September 10th, 2019 meeting in accordance with state law, council, and housing authority policy. We have several presentations on today's agenda. For the first presentation on today's agenda, it is for the Neighborhood Watch program, and I would like to invite Police Officer Stu Straller to the podium to share with us all about this. Hi, Sue.
Hello, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, and staff. As you know, I'm Officer Sue Stoller, the Community Information Officer for the Elkhorn Police Department. I'm here this afternoon to recognize and congratulate a neighborhood that has taken it upon itself to get involved and start up a neighborhood watch. Our nation is built on the strength of our citizens. Every day, we encounter situations calling upon us to be the eyes and ears of law enforcement. Not only does Neighborhood Watch allow citizens to help in the fight against crime, it's also an opportunity for communities to bond through service. Since actually 1972, the National Neighborhood Watch program has worked to unite law enforcement agencies and citizens in a nationwide effort to reduce crime and improve communities. Please help me congratulate Mountain View Village community for their outstanding involvement with Neighborhood Watch. Thank you. Take a quick photo. Quick photo is okay?
Sure, take your time.
Okay, now she wants a really good photo. Just saying.
I guess we get to be in a photo.
Forgot to give you this. Here, we'll come.
Thank you all for being involved. That's a really important thing you're doing. Appreciate it. Next is a proclamation for National Preparedness Month. I'd like to invite Fire Chief Stephen Swaney and Emergency Preparedness Coordinator Andy McKellar to the podium. I believe they have a PowerPoint and a presentation for us as well. Chief?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Thank you for allowing us to come here and present to you today. We do have a short presentation. Andy McKellar will be delivering that. He's our Emergency Preparedness Coordinator for Heartland Fire and Rescue. But first, we do have a proclamation I'll go ahead and read. So, whereas National Preparedness Month creates an opportunity for every resident of the City of El Cajon to prepare their homes, business, and communities for any type of emergency, including natural disasters and potential terrorist attacks. And whereas El Cajon residents have experienced the effects of various disasters in the past, including devastating wildfires, severe storms, and droughts costing millions of dollars. Whereas the aftermath of the 2003, 2007, and 2014 firestorms in San Diego County demonstrated the necessity for careful and thorough emergency planning and preparedness among individuals, communities, and agencies locally. And whereas all residents of the City of El Cajon are encouraged to participate in citizen preparedness activities and asked to review the READY campaign's website at www.ready.gov or the Heartland Fire and Rescue website at www.heartlandfire.org and become more prepared. Now, therefore, Bill Wells, Mayor of the City of El Cajon, together with the City Council, hereby proclaim the month of September 2019 to be National Preparedness Month in the City of El Cajon. They urge all residents and businesses to develop their own emergency preparedness plan and to work together towards creating a more prepared society. So with that, Andy, I present to you this proclamation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Andy McKellar will be doing the presentation for you.
Thanks, Chief.
Mr. Mayor, Council, staff, thank you very much for having me here today.
Every September is National Preparedness Month in this country, and every year they have a different theme. And this year's theme is Prepared, Not Scared. They have found over the years that people that understand their risk and have prepared in advance are less fearful when a disaster happens.
Could you pull the mic up a little?
Yes, sir. How's that better?
That's better, thank you.
Okay. People that are less fearful tend to react better in a large disaster. And by knowing those risks and being prepared in advance, that helps with that. So our risks in this area, wildfire, of course, flooding, and earthquake are our three major risks. One of the key things that people tend to forget as they go through preparedness is financial recovery. Do you have what it takes to get back on your feet financially? Is your insurance up to date? Do you have it evaluated every year? Have you inventoried your possessions? Do you store documents electronically so you can easily move them rather than moving paper? And do you keep some emergency cash on hand? Some small amount, in small denominations, somewhere safe at home, where if you need to buy a tank full of gas, you've got the cash to do that. The next thing you want to do is make a plan. We say this every year. We say it over and over again, but it still holds true. Have an evacuation plan ready to go. When you work that plan through, make sure you include your children so they understand what's coming at them, and they're not going to be afraid and fearful when that disaster happens. They're going to have more knowledge. Communicate that plan with people around you, friends and family. Make sure you include your pets and all their supplies in your evacuation plan. Try and have at least half a tank of gas in your car, especially if you know it's red flag conditions around here, as it comes up quite often this time of year. Make sure you've got enough fuel to get out of the area if you need to, rather than trying to stop at the local AM/PM on the way out and with everybody else and get a tank full of gas. Prepare your children. Teach them what to do in an emergency. That's going to help them react in a more positive fashion. Review the plan with your entire family, not just your immediate family, but your extended family members. Do they know what your plan is? So that if you have to evacuate your home, they live in Los Angeles, they hear about evacuations, they're not going to be as fearful because they know you know what to do next. Ask your children about what their school's plan is in a disaster. Have you read it? That's a good way to get to know what they're going to do in a disaster. You can transmit that information down to your children as well. We're going to go back to the kid again. Make sure you got enough food and water. A gallon of water per person per day. We'd like to see you have enough for 7 days. That seems like a lot, but it's not going to be so much when the water runs out. Clothes and shoes. Do you have proper clothing and shoes depending on the weather? Personal hygiene items. Do you have your medications that you might need? Spare eyeglasses. Pet care items. That list is pretty stable, but there's stuff you can add to it that will make your time in an evacuation or maybe even in a shelter a bit more manageable. The last thing you can do is get involved in preparedness. There's lots of different groups that you can get involved in the community to help you and your neighbors be prepared. East County CERT, I'll bang our own drum here. East County CERT's a pretty good program if you want to get involved in disaster preparedness and disaster response. But there's lots of others. Obviously, the Red Cross has been around a long time. Fire Safe Council, Salvation Army, lots of different ways that a citizen can get involved to help prepare themselves and their neighborhood. And that ends my presentation.
Thanks very much. Nice presentation. Let me see if there's any questions of the council from you. Thank you very much for coming. All right, now we have a proclamation for the importance of gender equality. I invite Director of Human Resources Marisol Thorne to read this for us, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm here to proclaim the importance of gender equity, whereas workplace gender equity transforms company cultures into environments that support all gender success, and whereas organizations that value gender equity strive to remove obstacles which can come in the form of overt and covert bias, obstructive practices and policies, and disrespectful or harmful behavior, and whereas workplace gender equity promotes the inclusion of all voices in decision-making processes and increases the status and impact of all individuals at every level of employment, And whereas workplace gender equity is important for future economic growth of the San Diego County region, impacting every industry and sector, and whereas workplace gender equity is critical to addressing major social issues, including improving children's health and education, reducing homelessness, reducing the rates of poverty for women and children, and eliminating violence in all its forms. Now, therefore, Bill Wells, Mayor for the City of El Cajon, together with the City Council, hereby proclaim the importance of workplace gender equity.
Thanks very much, Marisol. The last item on today's agenda is a commendation for Police Chief Jeff Davis, and I'll hand it over to our City Manager, Graham Mitchell.
There you go. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'd like to invite you to come down, and I'd like to invite Chief Davis to come down as well. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as you know, Chief Davis, after 33 years of being an employee with the city of El Cajon, has decided to retire. Surprise. And he's been such an asset to our community, and we wanted to, the Mayor, we would like you to present a commendation to him at this time.
We have a commendation honoring Chief Davis. Whereas Chief Davis has been ensuring the safety of El Cajon's residents and upholding the law for over 3 decades, he joined the department as a police reserve officer in 1984 and was hired as a regular police officer in 1986. Chief Davis was promoted to sergeant in 2000, lieutenant in 2006, and captain in 2012. Jeff quickly gained experience in the full spectrum of public safety, eventually earning him the top spot as Chief of Police in December of 2015. His career assignments include accident investigator, academy training officer, narcotics detective, child abuse detective. Jeff also served on the department's SWAT team for 22 years, ultimately overseeing the unit as the commanding officer. And whereas Chief Davis has always exuded a calmness that was extremely valuable during a very tumultuous time of active, potentially violent protests in this community, he handled the situation with a quiet resolve and respect for all views and participants without inciting further turmoil. His leadership has been very staff-oriented, ensuring the need of the community, the organization, and his departments were being met and working collaboratively. Jeff also oversaw the opening and organizational structure of the new state-of-the-art animal shelter in June 2017. And whereas Jeff is a longtime resident of East County, attending El Capitan High School, San Diego Christian College, where he obtained a bachelor's degree in business management. He is a graduate of the Supervisory Leadership Institute and Command College, both programs of the California Peace Officers Standards and Training Organization. Jeff and his wife, Sandy, have been married for 30 years, and they have 2 adult children living nearby. Both graduates of San Diego State University. Jeff's contributions to the city and his passion for providing public safety have earned him the respect of the department, his colleagues, and the community. We are very fortunate to have been under the protection of a man of his caliber and dedication. Now, therefore, I, Bill Wells, Mayor of the City of El Cajon, together with the City Council, do hereby commend and congratulate Chief of Police Jeff Davis on a very successful law enforcement career with the City of El Cajon. We wish Jeff and his family good health and much happiness in the years to come. Signed this 10th day of September 2019. Congratulations.
So Chief Davis is our chief for a few more days, so he's not retired yet. But as was stated by the mayor, he has been a tremendous asset for our community. As a management team, we bring all the department directors together, and he's one of them. The level of rationality, calmness, peace that he brings to those meetings is reflective of who he is as a man, his love for this community, the love for the people that he serves in this community. He's been a great friend, and he'll be greatly missed. Thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you, and I know you're on a tight schedule, so I'll limit this to 30 minutes. No, it's an honor. Thank you very much. I've been blessed to work for a city whose city leaders have always supported public safety, and that's made all the difference in the world. I thank the council and the mayor. I thank you for that. I also think, as the city manager mentioned, our city staff, this is an incredibly talented, collaborative team, and they brought me in as a teammate, and I can't express how grateful I am for our time together, and a lot has been accomplished because of that. Thank you very much. Thank you to the men and the women of this department, because on a daily basis, they're the ones that have made our department a success. It's not any one individual. It's a collective of all of the members of the department. So thank you. I'm honored to have worked with all the men and women of this department and in public safety in this city. And then lastly, I want to embarrass my wife, Sandy, of 30 years, and my mother sitting next to her. They were both here 4 years ago when I was sworn in, and they're here today as I'm about to step out. So on behalf of them and myself, I'm humbled, I'm gracious, and thank you for the opportunity.
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay. I see we have a lot of students here today, and we don't have time to have you all be introduced individually, but we would like to have all of you stand so that our video can put you on television. Every student here, which we have quite a group today, and I'm sorry we don't have time to introduce you individually, but like we normally do, but maybe you'll come back for another council meeting, we can do it then. But anyway, this will be a good education for you in how government works. And you see Chief Davis just retired. We have another chief that's ready to take his place, or will be a chief. So anyway, thank you for coming today. I'm sure you're all from Valhalla, is that right? Okay, anybody else not from Valhalla? I didn't think so. Okay, God bless you, and thank you for coming to the city council meeting, and hopefully you'll come back to another one where we can introduce you individually and find out what your career opportunities and desires are in life. Thank you. God bless you.
Before we continue on with the meeting, I wanted to take just a moment and share with the council and the public some positive news about some of our management staff. Today, City Manager Graham Mitchell was designated a credentialed city manager by the International City Management Association, or the ICMA. He joins Assistant City Manager Vince DiMaggio, who received his ICMA credential earlier this year. El Cajon now has the unique distinction of being the only city in San Diego County to have both the city manager and the assistant city manager as ICMA credentialed managers. Congratulations, Graham. All right, now on to the exciting business that those Valhalla students wanted to hear. Agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
Mr. Mayor, we have no changes to the agenda.
Council, any agenda changes? All right. We are moving on. So that brings us to consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion according to the recommendation listed below. With the concurrence of the City Council, a council member or person in attendance may request discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any of the consent items? Staff?
No, sir.
Angela, do we have any speakers for consent items?
No, sir, we do not.
I'll make a motion then to approve the consent items.
Second?
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
That brings us then to public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, City Council and Housing Authority members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any speaker cards for public comment?
Yes, sir, we have 2 cards. The first speaker is Hayo Kim.
Hi, how are you today?
Good. I'm fine. How are you?
Good, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be back. We were here last month. I'm Hayo Kim, director of the Kim Center for Social Balance. This is my colleague Deanna Ramon.
Deanna Smith.
Yeah, Schmidt. Sorry. We're both members of the County Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, and we just wanted to thank you for inviting us to celebrate Workplace Gender Equity Day with you. We're excited to join with the City of El Cajon on behalf of everyone who is striving to make gender equity a cultural reality, and thank you for bringing us one important step closer.
Thanks for coming. Thank you.
The last speaker is Jim Sirigliano.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, council, staff, just real quickly, a reminder about tomorrow, 9/11. Okay, and I bring this up because it's one of the few times that, as a country, and all political facets came together, and it's a wonderful thing to remember. And speaking about, when I come to these council meetings, a lot of times I like to comment on what happened in the past meetings, okay? And just about the the code of ethics, again. Mr. Goebel, thank you for reminding about our First Amendment rights, as always, which was very important. Mr. May, you brought up about, when we were speaking about censure and thing about simplifying it, which I agree. The simpler, the better. Matter of fact, you said like the 10 Commandments. And the only problem with that is that every day the 10 Commandments, you see what happens to them, you know. But, let's see. And ultimately, I feel that censure, it should be a self-censure, okay? Whether it's the city council, the staff, or someone in the public like myself. Because ultimately, that's what it boils down to, the morality issue, the decision that's made by each individual. And just in my last minute and 30 seconds here, a gentleman that lives in my park, Villanovia, he served as Park and Recreations Director for the City of El Cajon for many years, and he's been a great help to me. At the 7 o'clock meeting last month, I noticed that some people were offering poetry. And this gentleman, in his years now, he's all of a sudden writing prose and poetry. And I'd like to share one with you that's very important, and I hope you listen to it. It's entitled Skins. Take off your skin, and what do you see? Look real close, you see you and me. Take off your skin, and what do you find? A human being that's unique and kind. Take off your skin and look once more. Do we all look alike in the eyes of the Lord? Take off your skin, and we all look the same. But we all act differently, and we're the ones to blame. Take off your skins. It's not too late to try to be kind to each other, to be honest with each other, to be tolerant of each other, to be truthful with each other, to be patient with each other, if we all just try. Take off your skins, excuse me, and we can work together for a better tomorrow. For if we don't, or if we won't, our world will turn to sorrow. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, there are no written communications on today's agenda, and there are no public hearings for today. We have a couple of administrative reports on today's agenda. Item 18 is regarding the facility rental fees for Centennial Plaza. And staff, would you tell us about this, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. On August 13th, the City Council adopted a resolution that included some rental fees for many components of the Magnolia, which is opening tonight. One of those components was that of Centennial Plaza. And as you recall, the fee that staff recommended was a $600 fee for a day use and a $1,000 fee for evening use. In retrospect, as staff has contemplated the use of that plaza and why it was constructed really meant for public access, staff would like to recommend a revised fee schedule for that component of the overall fee schedule. We'd recommend that a $250 day use fee be charged and a $600 evening fee be charged for that. That's staff's recommendation. We're here to answer any questions that you may have. And if there are no questions, we'd recommend that the council adopt the resolution attached.
All right. Council, any questions? Steve?
So each time, just a procedural question, each time we want to change a fee, do we have to go through the whole ordinance, or I'm sorry, resolution process?
Yeah, because the fees are adopted by resolution. Usually we do this one time a year, but as there are tweaks to it, it is required to be approved by resolution.
Okay.
What would happen if somebody a group wanted to rent the outside Centennial Plaza at the same time there was a large concert going on at the Magnolia?
That's a good question. So there are times when that facility or that component is not available. So if there were a concert going on that day and there was an early morning or a midday use, based on what Live Nation would say, because we don't want to intrude on them, most likely it could be rented out. However, if there's a Pat Benatar concert, for example, coming up, probably it would not be appropriate to rent it out in the evening because they're going to be programming that space during the evening.
So we're not under any obligation to book it if we feel like it's not in the best interest of the use of the space.
That's correct.
All right, thanks. Appreciate that. Okay, Angela, do we have any speaker cards on this item?
No card, sir.
Okay, it's up to somebody to make a motion then.
I've never seen a problem with the council lowering fees.
Yeah.
And I would move that we accept.
People don't usually rally against that, do they?
I'll second that.
There's a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Let's vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
All right. Item 19 is report on the fire. This is a good one. Item 19 is a report on the Fire Station Dog Pilot Program. Staff, please tell us about our new dog.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, I'm just going to introduce the topic, and I'll be turning it over to staff in a minute. But we're excited to present this next informational item to the City Council. It's a pilot program that's really aimed at focusing on mental health and quality of life of our first responder staff. The program that you'll be hearing about tonight is a collaborative one that brought in a lot of different folks from different components of our agency, and some of our amazing fire department staff has volunteered many hours to research this and to bring this program to life. So I want to express my gratitude for staff that did this on their own time. In this presentation, you'll hear some staggering data about mental health and about the impacts that our first responders go through. You'll also hear about a unique program that we think could potentially be piloted in the city and then maybe expanded within the city, but actually hopefully to other cities around the county. I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Thorne in just a moment, but I did want the staff, or the City Council, to know that the management staff for the city of El Cajon takes mental wellness in the workplace seriously, and this is what's driving part of that. And we're looking for any possible way to increase the effectiveness of our staff and the long-term well-being of our staff. So with that, Ms. Thorne, I'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Graham. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm here to go over our new wellness initiative. We've been working on this for the past year, are very excited to present it to you. I'm going to briefly talk about the concept, provide some data, and then I'll introduce you to our team. So what's a station dog? So the station dog program is a certified facility dog. It is a dog that has been specifically trained at a fire station. It is not a service dog. It is not going to be a city mascot. It's not going to be assigned to one specific individual. The reason being, when we analyzed the data from the surveys, some of that data showed that firefighters did not want to be forthcoming. They did not want to seek assistance from their company officers because they did not want to be seen as unfit for their position or unstable. The city also recognizes that there continues to be a stigma assigned to firefighter mental health and substance abuse, whereas our firefighters do not want to seek attention. They fear that they'll be seen as weak. Also, during our research, we looked at other agencies that do have therapy dogs. Most of those dogs are assigned to a company officer, which is then brought to a station after a critical incident, or they are available to be checked out upon request. We believe those type of programs do not accomplish our intent or our goal for our wellness program for our firefighters. Our goals are to provide an immediate distressor to our firefighters and to have a service that is 100% confidential. With our station dog program, our firefighters are able to reap the benefits of having a dog at the station immediately after an incident, whether it be small or large, and months thereafter. Our firefighters will be able to reap the benefits of having a dog that will provide natural therapeutic support without having to explicitly request assistance from their company officer or from human resources. The concept also gives ownership to our crews. So one of the things we looked at was how to make the program successful. And in order to have any program be successful, you have to have buy-in. So what we did is we gave the concept to our staff. They developed the program, and they'll be responsible for the maintenance of the program. Whereas management, we've served and will continue to serve as a resource for our firefighters. Again, I want to point out that the station dog program is not intended to be a service dog for a specific individual. It's simply a daily shift companion for station crews. Before we elaborate more on the station dog itself, I want to talk a bit on firefighter wellness. Prior to 2017, there weren't many studies regarding firefighters. Most focused on law enforcement or military personnel. With these recent studies, suicides are now being tracked by various organizations, and there's now a recognition and acceptance within the fire service that firefighters are exposed to constant trauma while they run medical aids or go on longer and more frequent strike team assignments. It's also now recognized that multiple forms of mental illness are common in first responders than any other profession. As you just saw in these news clips, Southern California region has been hit pretty hard the past few years with firefighters' suicides. Already this year, we see that FEMA has reported 33 firefighter on-duty fatalities. However, if you look at the numbers from Firefighter Behavioral Health Alliance, you see 62 firefighter suicides. That's almost double. As mentioned, the studies are fairly new, so if you look at the first two categories, firefighters who suffer depression and suicide, so those are firefighters who have had suicidal thoughts, we have a range Again, I felt like I needed to include a range and not an exact number because the studies are so few. However, if you look at the binge drinking numbers, that's a 58%, and these are, again, numbers that have been collected from studies, and the Behavioral Alliance group who gets these numbers, they estimate that there's a 40% underreporting. I wanted to illustrate some of the numbers from the largest study. So this is a study that was done in 2018 by the International Association for Firefighters along with NBC. They had surveys, responses from 7,000 firefighters. I'm not going to read through all of the statistics, but as you can see, 95% of these firefighters reported that they were incredibly stressed on a daily basis. 81% stated that they did not want to seek help because they feared being unfit for duty. 77% stated they prefer a peer support team, and 71% don't use employee assistance programs. These are really critical, and I'm highlighting these because I believe that our Station Dog program will address these specific issues. So what contributes to firefighter mental health? So these 4 factors that are illustrated on the slide, these were from the studies. And basically what the studies showed are that work culture, so firefighters who feel supported at work are less likely to contemplate suicide. The studies unfortunately also showed that firefighters are twice as likely to suffer from both PTSD and depression than our general population. There's also a link of constant critical calls, which will create triggers in our firefighters. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And substance abuse. There's a direct correlation between the number of critical incidents that our firefighters run on and the level of alcohol use. So the more exposure, the increase in alcohol abuse. The studies for the firefighters did not focus on the factor of resilience, and I wanted to make sure that I talked about resilience for a bit. Every individual has a threshold as far as how they cope and their ability to recover from incidents. We acknowledge that each individual will react differently to critical calls based on their own personal past experiences, and that each individual will have their own unique triggers. Again, we are confident that through our Station Dog program, we'll be able to provide a resource that is inclusive of all resilience levels. As you may know, if we do not address mental health on a daily basis, there are high negative impacts to both your professional and personal lives. As you can see, the personal impact is that you start seeing distance. So firefighters start isolating themselves from their friends and family. You see an increase in domestic violence as well as an increase in substance abuse. That translates into the workplace. There is a lack of judgment and decision making when they go on calls. The poor physical health equates to work-related injuries, and poor behavior leads to discipline. However, we know that if we address mental health through our Station Dog program, that we'll be able to provide positive impacts to our firefighters. The impacts of having a dog, and these are just basic impacts according to the American Heart Association, as you can see on this slide, reflect there's a lower incidence of depression, lower blood pressure, you tend to be calmer and more relaxed, and there's a decrease in your chance for heart disease. That translates to the workplace that the impact is on resilience. So if people are more resilient or easier to cope, we will have a reduction in workplace injuries, and we'll see higher performance and judgment. So I just wanted to, Graham mentioned that this was a team effort. I wanted to introduce our team. We have the fire management team, which is our fire chief, who has served as the subject matter expert for the dog, as well as a resource for policies and procedures. our association. We collaborated with them. They took it to a vote. Again, we wanted the buy-in, and they developed a committee in which they developed the program. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Sweeney, who's going to talk about the regional impacts.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank City Manager Mitchell and Ms. Marisol Thorne for their supportive efforts towards this program and seriously addressing this issue that's impacting our profession. We actually started, the leadership of this fire department actually started in about 2015 of recognizing that there was some issues out there with resiliency. And so it was after we were approached by a few members on the floor, a few firefighter paramedics, that they said that they wanted some help and they needed some education. So we reached out to a clinician, and we actually started providing mental health awareness training not only to all of our personnel, which included our administrative staff, the dispatch personnel, but we also extended that to significant others. So we tried to have a global approach to make sure that they understood what they were feeling, their families understood what they were feeling, and help them to try to address those issues. Out of that was born a peer support group. The peer support group is a volunteer group that we actually send to probably about 24 hours of training and continuing education, that there are peers that are available, that we have these people that we can reach out to. They can make a phone call after a particularly tough time on a call. Maybe it's a particularly tough time that they're having in their life off duty, and they can reach out and just check on them and see how they're doing. It's kind of a litmus test to see if they need referral to a little bit more of a professional service, or if they just need to keep checking back in on them to see if they're coping okay. Additionally, after that, we started a fire chaplain program, and so we actually have a fire department chaplain that actually participates in that peer support group. That peer support group is not only available to our agency, it's available as a regional resource throughout the county of San Diego, and two of our peer support members just recently traveled to El Paso to help deal with the aftermath of the shooting that was there. They helped 950 first responders kind of deal with some of their feelings after that. So we share our resources with our neighboring brothers and sisters. Some of the other things that we've done is we subscribe to a app, because everybody likes apps these days. I don't know what they are, but the younger guys know what they are. And so it's Firestrong. And Firestrong, you can go on there and pick a variety of all those topics that were up on the screen that Marisol showed. And you can do some self-assessments. There's some referral parts on there available 24/7 a day, and so they can reach out and get some help if they're more comfortable doing it that way. One of the other things that we've done is we've worked closely with HR to look at our EAP, our Employee Assistance Provider, on what their qualifications are, and we're looking for people that are qualified and have experience with first responders and dealing with PTSD issues, or PTSI is what they're referring to it now. And so we're actually changing the provider to provide us a better service and allow us, after some of these critical incident stresses or these incidents that cause these stress levels, is to come in and do a very good diffusing and address it as it's starting to happen. We routinely do safety stand downs where the staff and the leadership goes around, talks to the guys on the floor and the women on the floor to make sure that they're okay and they're coping with things. So we actually recognize that we need to change our culture quite some time ago, and we've been working diligently to change that attitude of, you don't worry about it, it's okay, and just, you'll be fine. So we've recognized that we need to address these issues, and again, I thank staff for bringing these to the forefront. With that, I'll turn it over to Travis Timmons.
Thank you, Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members, city staff. Thank you for having me. My name's Travis Timmons. I proudly represent the firefighters of Heartland Fire Rescue here in El Cajon. I'm going to give you the meat and potatoes about the program we're setting up. But first, I want to give recognition and thank Graham, Vince, Marisol, Megan, and Chief Sweeney and his staff for being supportive for this program. It's pretty unheard of for this level of support for this program after doing all of this research. Talking to different cities who have a few of these programs, or a few cities who have this set up. There's only 5 in the nation. We'll be the 6th. Every one of them could not believe that we have a city that approached us with this idea. They couldn't believe that we have a fire chief that is supportive of this. They all hit roadblocks at a certain point. Every one of those cities had to take money out of their own pockets to pay for this. So they just couldn't believe it. So anyways, I want to thank you guys for being as supportive as you are. So anyways, I'll get into the program here. So like I said, we were approached by Marisol and Graham for this idea and brought it to our members, and they overwhelmingly wanted us to move forward with this. So we put a committee together. There's 6 of us on the committee. And on our first meeting, we had to decide, okay, what is the program? What do we want it to be? And we came up with 2 things. She kind of briefly touched that we need a dog that's there 24 hours a day. We don't want a dog that is taken home by a handler and only comes out for critical incidents. We need to take full opportunity of having the dog at the fire station all times. The other thing, the dog has to be trained. It has to be. We can't have a dog chewing things in the station, running out the door when the door is open. It has to be trained. So we have to figure out some sort of training standard for it. So those were the 2 big items. And doing some research, we thought, no big deal. We'll find something in the region. We'll probably find something, if not in the region, in California. And there was nothing. In fact, there's, like I said, 5 in the nation that have a similar program, and they all happen to be have the same trainer who set this program up. So a little bit about her. The trainer's name's Sunny Madsen. She's in Virginia. She worked with a local fire department there who had a suicide in their department. They worked together to set up. She already had a nonprofit set up for veterans for service dogs. So she worked to set up a facility dog program. So there's a training standard that the dog has to pass. It's all the basic obedience training, and they have to go to 7 different locations in one day, including there's a mall, a preschool, a fire station. There's 7 different locations the dog has to pass, and then also it gets fire station specific training. So it's brought to fire stations. It's around apparatus that are running with lights and sirens. Firefighters in our gear, breathing air. They get boundary training to where the dog will not pass whichever boundary you set up, so they won't go bolt out onto the street. They have to be invited. Also, we send a recording of our overhead tones when we get emergency calls. The dog will hear that, and it'll go straight to its crate. On the way out to the call, one of our members will close the door on the way out, and the dog will be in its crate, so it's not free roaming around the station. So those are fire station specific. So the trainer here fulfilled both those needs we have. When we decided to move forward with her, we gave her kind of the specifications of the dog we're looking for, the temperament and size and all that. And about a week later, she found our girl for us, and here she is up on the screen here. Her name's Yara. She's 5 months old-ish in that picture. She's been training for about 2.5 months now. When she comes to El Cajon, she'll have 4 months of training. She'll have passed all her training standards. If you can switch to the next one, and there's a little video of her. Can you guys play that video? Oh, there it goes. So this is just her out in the public working on her training. We've got tons of other videos, but we didn't want to make this all day. But as you can see, she's a cute girl there. Anyway, so she'll be coming in October to El Cajon. We'll be doing 3 days of training for all the crews. They'll all be able to come through the training, do all the commands, learn the day-to-day with her, everything else that goes with it. And then after that 3 days of training, she'll be officially sworn in as a probationary firefighter dog for El Cajon. Just like a probationary firefighter, we'll be constantly getting feedback on her performance and evaluating her, making sure she's doing what we got her for, and it's to provide comfort, some mental health benefits for the crews. At 6 and 12 months, we'll be doing official information gathering, so that after that year, we can put that information together and present it and say, hey, look, this is working. We don't really have any doubt that it will. Talking to the other cities, the 5 other ones around the nation, they're all trying to expand their programs because they're so successful. So. And I'd like to, with that being said, I'd like to invite the council members and the mayor to one of those training days if you guys want to attend, to be a part of that. So you can go through one of the staff members to contact us to set that up. But so 18th, 19th, and 20th of October. And that's all I have for now. We're real excited for her to come out, and thank you for hearing all the information on our new station dog.
Thanks for doing all the work.
Yeah.
I had no idea it would be this much work to get this program off the ground, but it seems like really comprehensive.
It's exciting work, though, so it's worth it.
Before you go, let me see if there's any questions for you, Council. Okay. Do we have any speaker cards on this item, Angela?
No, sir, no cards.
All right. Well, hey, thank you. We look forward to meeting Yara, and I hope it works out great so we can do this in all your stations.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank some of our partners. This was a collaborative approach. We worked with the police department, so I wanted to say thank you to Lieutenant Walt Miller, Sergeant Trotter, and Sergeant Steve Poss. They took the time to go over the K-9 program with us, go over their budget and the needs that we would need for the dog program, as well as Nahid Rossi, our purchasing agent, who walked us through the acquisition of the dog, and our Public Works Facilities Personnel Operations Manager, Kevin Wright, and Supervisor Robert Lee, who have been working with the fire department on the outdoor kennel at Station 6. So again, I just wanted to say a special thank you to all the departments who worked with us on this program. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisol. I think the city council needs a dog. Steve?
You know, I don't know that the public realizes the volume of calls in El Cajon. It's pretty high, isn't it? Something around 13,000 higher, 14, 15, 16,000 a year calls through 4 stations in El Cajon. So that's probably over 100 calls a day for all stations. That's a lot of adrenaline, a lot of up, down, up, down, up, down. So because of the volume of calls, it's a great, great program. Way to go.
Thank you. Phil?
Just really briefly, I have friends who are firefighters, and they can attest to how stressful the job is. And in the United States, we have sick care. We don't have health care. It means we go to the doctor or a mental health physician professional when we've hit rock bottom. And I think this is a great program to make sure that our firefighters serving us don't hit rock bottom. And I think some of the headlines, that was from LA County, the captain that committed suicide. Yeah. So I can't, this is a great program. I appreciate all the work you guys have done. And thank you very much. And I don't know if you noticed, but 2 of your colleagues stepped out right when the presentation was happening. So there's a perfect illustration of the up and down, up and down. So thank you.
Thanks. I just want to also say that I think it's extremely important. I have a son who fought in the Special Forces in Afghanistan, and there were 90 guys in his platoon. And since they've come home, 10 of those guys have committed suicide in the past 2 years. And it's too much. And I think a lot of the problem tends to be that people that do these kind of jobs and see what you see also have to integrate back with people who don't do those kind of jobs and don't see that kind of thing. And I think it can make people feel very alone. And I'm hoping that this program helps a little bit, and that it encourages our city and every other city to take this problem more seriously and provide more solutions. So thanks for being part of it. Okay. That's such a cool thing to have a dog. Wish all of our problems could be like that, huh? All right. There are no commission reports today. Item 20 is my activities report. I wanted to mention on my activity report, I went to one of the facilities that is treating or taking care of the undocumented minor children who have come up from Mexico or Central America and have nobody watching out for them. And as you remember, those things have been controversial. People have, I think, tried to make a lot of political hay about it. So it was really hard for me to grasp what was real and what was not. You're hearing that these places are like concentration camps and that children are in cages and it's inhumane. It's a bad place. So I didn't know what to think when I went to visit them. I do have a lot of history in mental health. I've been working in mental health since 1988, and I have a doctorate in mental health, and I've worked a lot with group homes for kids, so I'm not unfamiliar with those places. And what I saw when I went there was that the kids were happy, that they were being handled in a professional way. They were being handled in a way that really meets all the standards for group homes and facilities that I've seen throughout my career. The staff was involved. They were eager. They were excited to be doing what they were doing. But of course, all of that could have been a show just for me. So I had a chance to talk to several of the kids, that not that they chose, but that I chose. Pulled the kids aside and talked to them. And what I got was I was very confidently could come out of that telling you that the children were being well cared for, that they were having lots of opportunities to get involved with extended families or try to be reunified with their parents. There are a lot of sad stories, absolutely, but I walked away from that whole trip feeling that we can be confident that at least the facility that's in our city is being held to very high standards, that the kids are being well cared for, and that nothing strange is happening. So I wanted to report that all back to you because I know that that this is a controversial issue. So, thank you. Item 21 is our legislative report. And Vince, do you have a legislative report today?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to update the council on a couple of things briefly. On August 19th, the governor signed AB 392. I've reported on that in the past, and as you may recall, the original text of AB 392 would have changed the use of deadly force standard from reasonable, quote-unquote reasonable, to, quote, necessary. This would have forced officers to question their own actions during split-second decision-making encounters. It was opposed by the Police Officers Research Association of California, who was successful during a number of hearings and negotiations, and the bill retains the reasonable standard and avoided the necessary standard. So that is actually a good thing in terms of how the police officers prefer to be judged by their actions. But there are other bills moving through the legislature right now, and we are keeping an eye on them to see if another attempt is made to raise the standard. But right now the standard remains as is. And in fact, what 392 does is bring the law in line with two Supreme Court decisions from the 80s and 90s. So it doesn't accomplish its original purpose. It basically aligns California law with the United States Supreme Court decisions from the past. Secondly, SB 5 is a bill designed to reintroduce a version of redevelopment. I've talked to a few of you individually about this. It's the bill that uses ERAF funds for funding as the funding source for redevelopment projects. It continues to move. It's in the Assembly now, will probably be approved by the Assembly in the near future, and most likely signed by the governor when that happens. I'll bring a more comprehensive update on that.
Thanks, Vince. All right, we're at activities report. Mr. Bob McCullen.
As reported.
Deputy Mayor Steve Goebel.
As reported with one comment, back on item 4 in the consent agenda, it was a review of storm wastewater repair and maintenance contract. The council approved the contract as designed, I believe about a year ago or so, or late 2018, for $2.6 million. And it came in, the actual cost came in at $2.3 million. So somewhere along the line, when the city's public works staffs went out and actually looked at the scope of work to be done, they found things that they could do to streamline and improve, and they saved the taxpayers of El Cajon over $340,000. That's a big deal. So, great job.
Yeah. Excellent. And Councilmember Phil Ortiz.
I was not able to make the Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs meeting on the 27th, but other than that, as reported.
All right, thanks, Phil. All right, there are no joint council member reports today. Item 26 is for informational purposes only. And do we need to do anything about? It's talking about donations to the animal shelter. We had $1,000 in donations, so that's wonderful. Item 27 is a first reading to amend Chapter 2.24 of the El Cajon Municipal Code. Staff, would you do this for us, please?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. As you recall, there was a presentation in the prior meeting where the staff indicated and the Veterans Commission indicated that they preferred to go to a Veterans Coalition as opposed to commission, and the City Council endorsed that concept. So we prepared the ordinance to remove the Veterans Commission from our municipal code. In doing so, we noticed that there were two other commissions that were no longer being used or were no longer functioning or being members were no longer being solicited. That was the Commission on Arts and Culture and the Human Relations Commission. So at the same time as we are removing the Veterans Commission, I've proposed that we also remove those two commissions from our code.
Thanks, Councilor. Council, any questions about these? Angela, any speaker cards?
No cards, sir.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion then?
Move to remove the three commissions.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present, and with your permission, sir, I will recite the title.
Please.
An ordinance amending Chapter 2.24 of Title II of the El Cajon Municipal Code to eliminate the Veterans Commission, Commission on Arts and Culture, and Human Relations Commission.
Thank you. All right, there are no second readings of ordinances today, and we are now in closed session. Our city attorney will recite the title and lead us into closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council will be recessing into closed session on three items. The first is a conference with legal counsel on existing litigation pursuant to paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9. The name of the case is Cajon N. Vint versus City of El Cajon. The second is a closed session for conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code section 54956.8. The property is located at 250 East Lexington Avenue, known as the Lexington Avenue Senior Apartments. The negotiating parties for both the one side and then the agencies or authorities side are listed in the agenda. Under negotiation would be a price and terms for an extension of a lease of the authority's property. And the third is another conference with legal counsel for existing litigation pursuant to paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9. The name of the case is Climate Action Campaign versus City of El Cajon.
All right, then I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the closed session.
Second.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote of those present.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go in the closed session. We'll be back in a short time to finish the meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council met in closed session on three items. On item 28, the City Council heard a report from the City Attorney. No action was taken. On item 29, the City Council gave direction to its real property negotiators. And item 30, the City Council heard a report on that item. No action was taken.
All right, this brings us to adjournment. The regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council and El Cajon Housing Authority held this 10th day of September 2019 is adjourned until Tuesday, September 24th, 2019 at 3 o'clock p.m. Thank you.